I'm Marquise. This is Tochi. I want you to like really get into like what you do and like your what's the word for it? Like your techniques and everything. Just kind of like an overview. Thank you for being here. Also,
Yeah, of course, of course. Um, and thanks to the folks who are also in the studio who have joined in. It's exciting um, to meet you. If you could just chat where you're joining us from, we'd just like to have an understanding of like the folks we have in the room. If there are also specific questions that you have, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. All right, nice. Fatma from Boston. Nice to meet you.
mhm.
So we're going to do a quick intro. My name is Tochi Kanuivi. By trade, I am a customer success manager. Before I keep talking, I want to make sure, are you able to see? I am sharing my screen, and I want to make sure you're also able to see
Oh,
that. Can we see my screen?
what's the wrong thing?
Let's see.
Uh,
Okay,
but
thanks for
there
me.
we go.
How about now?
Yeah. Can y'all see it now?
Okay, sweet. Okay, great, awesome. So yeah, I'll just do a quick intro of myself. I do have a slide here that kind of touches on it, so I'm just gonna switch to that real quick. And it kind of tells the story of how all of this came together, like me getting all this information and how I've sort of like gone on to keep sharing. So I am originally from Nigeria. I moved here about 2019 for an MBA program. And with the transition, I was able to get a job at Microsoft. And I think about like a year or two into a full-time role with Microsoft, I got impacted by layoffs. Crazy time, really crazy time. And in all of that period, there were so many lessons that I learned and some of the things that really worked for me well to help me land a job within 2 months of being impacted. Now, I don't want anybody to get too hung up on the timeline, right? Because it could vary. Honestly, I really think God was faithful and, everything just worked out well for me. But I do also believe in the process and the method that I used to help me get the job back in 2023. Since then, I have shared these tips with a couple of friends, couple of colleagues, and I've also seen that success. So that let me know that like if it's repeatable and it's teachable, then yes, it's definitely something worth sharing there. And that's what I'll be talking through in terms of how I landed my role, the things that helped me, and even just from getting feedback from the number of people that I've shared these tips with and have also found success. I'll be incorporating all of that and sharing that. And Marcus will also be kind of like shaping that together in terms of because there's one thing to get a job, right? Like to especially leveraging LinkedIn. There's another thing to have your materials, your credentials all sorted out properly, right? So you could present yourself in the best way possible. So today, what we're all about today is to first of all, we're going to talk about the why, like why are we even like what is this marketplace we call LinkedIn, right? We're also going to talk about like how to show up in the job market. Like we're going to talk about resumes, a little bit like how to structure it, what are the key things to put in there. We're also going to talk about um, the job search itself, right? What should you be doing? How should you be looking? Who should you be talking to? What could set you apart? Because we know how crazy the job
Mhm.
market is right now. So it's very important, right? Like you're able to set yourself apart from every other person in the job market. So we'll be touching on that. And lastly, we'll also um, highlight some things around interviewing as well. So we're trying to make this as holistic as possible when you think of the full um, process of getting a job. I'm trying to see how we could squeeze this into max 2 hours. So we'll see how far we go. But the meat of this is really the LinkedIn portion. And the style I do is show and tell. Okay. I'm going to tell you some things, but I'm also going to show you. That's why we're screen sharing. At some point, I will be toggling into LinkedIn to show you actually what I did, how it worked for me, etc. And I would love your engagement. I would love your questions. If there's anything I'm talking about that maybe you've tried and it didn't really work quite well for you, like let's have a conversation, or you're not sure how you should approach it or how you should interpret what I'm saying, please feel free to ask questions. I deal with this on a regular, so I've really and that's one of the things that makes this very interactive. So yeah, excited for this, excited for your participation.
Yeah, thank you. You said that perfectly. I'm Marquise. I don't have nearly as much like knowledge about like getting a job and stuff. I just know about more so the software development side of this. And usually my route to getting a job is like through recruiters and stuff. So when I if y'all don't know, I do interviews. Where am I looking? I guess I'll look here.
Yeah.
I do interviews. And I interviewed Toshi about her tech story and everything. When we got to the portion of her talking about her techniques for like getting a job and stuff, I'm like, yeah, this is hopefully like take notes for this joint and everything, because you'll take a lot away from this. For me, I'm usually going through recruiters and stuff, but if you are following the stuff that she's saying and then obviously making your portfolio and stuff like that, you will be able to find a job. Like it, like she said, don't worry too much about the timeline, but like if you follow these techniques, I'm pretty positive you will. But yes, we will be recording this, and yeah, I mean we could just I'll just put over to you and just let you let you go to work.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, this is an agenda I usually like to go through when I'm walking through this. Like let's just dive into it. So the first thing is I like to start with the why, right? Understand like what exactly is this marketplace? What does it look like? Then the second thing is the what, right? Let's deal with career clarity. Like let's establish career clarity. What would make sense for us as we're approaching the whole process? The third is the how, right? So we'll deal with the why, the what, the how, and then we just wrap up. But again, I would love this to be as interactive as possible. So please feel free to, put anything in chat or just, come off mute if you would like to share something. Okay. So first things first that I would like to establish is, when we think of the job market, right? I don't want us to think of it in isolation. Think of it like it is an actual market. And if you think about it like a simple market, like whether it's online shopping, physical, there's a presence of buyers and sellers, right? That's at the base level understanding. And that's the same thing that we see today, right? If there are like you're trying to get a job from an employer and an employer is looking for people they will potentially bring into their company as employees. Now, when you think of LinkedIn itself is a marketplace. Now, the reason why I really love LinkedIn, and I know that there are many job platforms, but I'm a huge LinkedIn advocate, never worked for LinkedIn. Yes, I worked for Microsoft, but never worked for LinkedIn. But I've seen the power of LinkedIn, and that's why I'm a huge advocate for it. Because every other job platform only would post the job, right? Let's say you go into Indeed, you would see lots of listings. Great. You find the one you want, you apply, you move on. When you go on LinkedIn, what makes LinkedIn distinct is that there is the presence of those, there's a presence of both the buyers and the sellers. So that's what makes it a marketplace, right? You have the buyers in there, you have the hiring managers, you have the recruiters. They have a presence in there. They have a platform that they share things or connect to other people. It's an active platform that the buyers use, right? And also the sellers, or rather, the sellers in this case, which is you, because you're selling your skill, right? The employees also have a presence there. So LinkedIn in itself is a marketplace, right? And when you're in a marketplace, you want to be able to sell yourself, right? That's one thing. You want to be able to close the deal. You're not just there to like go through the motions. You're there to land a deal. So whenever we're in there, I want us to think of it like first base level. LinkedIn is a marketplace. How we show up to the marketplace is really important, right? How are we presenting our brand? How are we presenting our skills? How are we presenting ourselves to make sure that once the buyer comes in, once an employer looks at us, they're able to make a decision like, hey, I would like this person to come into my company. So let's start with that. Let's start with the base of figuring out what
Mhm.
our brand should look like, or what our or how we should show up in the marketplace, right?
Tochi, my bad. Real quick, can you go to your Instagram live thing and just hit go live? I didn't realize we had to go back and hit it. Like once we started here, you had to go
Oh,
hit it over there.
oh, hold
Yeah.
on. Uh, yeah, I may have also messed that up because now I think I have to. I might have to. I don't know if that same stream key I gave you would work. Uh,
Oh, you got to
I
get
felt
in
like I
there.
was live before. I'm not sure.
Oh,
Forgive us,
Lord.
people. This is
Yeah, my bad. This is the first time we're
we're
doing
trying to
this.
figure it out. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Um,
And you was in a groove too. My bad.
you're good. Um, I will say I will. I just don't want to disrupt this for too long. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I don't know how. Wish I could play like a. You know how they play those music when you're in the waiting room. Um, but yeah. So I just.
Um,
I will say this. I think it's a little bit messed up on my end. If I'm not able to be live anymore, I think we will just stick with
okay. No, that's fine.
yours. Yeah, because yeah, it's taking me all over again to go like put it in.
Okay. No, that's
So
cool.
I think it's just highly disruptive. So I'll just let it go on my end. It felt like it was streaming. I felt like I could see myself in there already, but
Oh, then yeah, you probably was. That's my
it
bad.
probably was live.
All
But
right.
oops.
Sorry, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. 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 Hopefully they're able to, because I did leave instructions for YouTube and also your live. So hopefully they get to connect there. So, anyways, so let's think about it in terms of how you show up to the marketplace, right? Um, and I'll tell you this from my experience going in there. So whenever I lost my job, and remember, I think I felt like 2023 was the peak moment when the whole thing just went crazy, right? Within the tech industry. Towards the end of 2022, there were already those trickles of layoffs, but 2023 was when companies were announcing those numbers like 6,000, 10,000. Like that's when it started. I felt like it was hitting a lot, and you would go on LinkedIn and you would see so many stories of people who just got laid off, etc. um, I remember being out there and I thought, okay, how do I effectively position myself, right? I know that LinkedIn is a marketplace, but I want to be able to get ahead of this, like the pool. I want to be able to get ahead of the queue. How do I silence the noise and position myself such a way that I am easily filtered out of that noise? So one of the things that, and I'll tell you what I tried, and I'll call them like these are the myths that I had to figure out for myself. One, I don't believe in in quantity over quality. Because one of the things I heard was, hey, you have to apply to like 100 jobs a day, right? And I remember it was such a struggle for me because, I applied to 50 and I think I've done greatly. And then I see someone that says, I just did 150. I'm like, okay, I need to up my game. But I realized I wasn't getting a lot of callbacks. It was like I was throwing things at the wall and wondering, just hoping that something would stick. So I tried to change my strategy and go for quality over quantity. So first, I started with career clarity, and that's what I want us to think about, right? So that's why I'd say that's what I mean when I say let's discover the what. What are the things that um, define the experience you want to have? Because that way, instead of looking for 100 jobs and stretching myself thin such that I have like 5 or 10 different resumes, I wanted to be able to apply to all the jobs that I wanted to with one resume. Now that could be a little bit daunting for a lot of people because it's like, oh, I have skills in this, I have skills in that. Why should I use only one resume? And I'll explain my thought process. But again, the decision ultimately lies with you. I looked at it this way: what kind of experience do I want to have? Now, for every company, and I'll give an example in the company I am in, I have been in the same role, but I've had 3 different titles, same job function. They just did a little bit of tweaking here and there and they adjusted out the title 3 times. And I've been in that company for like less than 3 years. Seriously. but my title had been adjusted from customer success manager to automation program advisor to engagement customer success advisor. But the underlying function I was doing was the same. So let's even take out the engagement one. Let's look at the automation program advisor and customer success manager. Different titles, same job function. So use that mentality to think of it in that way, where it's for, you could have different roles. They're called, in fact, one role could be called many things across many companies. Some people can call theirs customer success. Some people can call it, they have another role called partner success, but you realize it's the same, it's very similar job function. So for me, I decided to start with, what kind of experience do I want to have? Do I want to be more strategic? Do I want to be more operational? Do I want a customer facing role? Do I want to be more back office? What are my strengths? Where do my value lie? Do I enjoy creating slides, having those presentations to business stakeholders? Do I enjoy collaborating with multiple teams? Once I zeroed in on those core skills, I was able to figure out what are the roles then that require these skills. And by doing that, I was able to craft my resume to fit the experience that I wanted to have, right? So that way, I had one resume that I used to apply for a business development manager role. I had another one. Oh, this evening is full of disruptions. Let's see. I don't think give me a moment while I plug in my computer before it dies on me. And I promise y'all, this is going to be the last one. Give me a moment.
No, it's the first time though, so we're gonna make adjustments.
And we're back. And that was the last one, promise. So anyways, I had to think of the experience I wanted to have. So I had that one resume that I used to apply for all the different jobs. So like I did use it to apply for a business development manager role. Let's see.
Oh, can you start the presentation? Like
yes.
is that better?
It's an ultra wide monitor, so I hope I did try to take it into presentation mode, so I hope it's better now. If not, please let me know. Okay, perfect. That's awesome. So yeah, I decided that, okay, I needed to like adjust my resume in such a way that I could apply for many jobs. So BDR, I used to apply for a business development manager role, partner development manager role, customer success, program manager. There was one more. I can't remember, but ultimately, all these 4 roles, different titles, same resume, right? Because I wanted to be as targeted as possible. So that was for me. I started with career clarity, right? I started thinking, what kind of experience do I want to have, right? And that was the first thing that I went for. So once I figured out that experience, I could tailor my resume, my LinkedIn profile, and even when it came down to the interviews, the stories I was telling was aligned because it was the same experience. I could craft it because it was still the same experience and skills that I would leverage for all those roles, right? So it helped me build one resume. So I wasn't, because I tried the multiple resume thing, and I tried the apply to 100 people thing. It just felt very haphazard. It felt like I was chasing too many things, and personally, it wasn't working for me. Now, when people tell me that, I have like different skills, can I use resumes? Sure, maximum of 2, in my opinion, because again, the more you stretch it, the more you do that, the more it confuses you, like it could confuse you and make the whole process a lot more cumbersome. So I would say start with career clarity. Start with defining the experience you want to have, right? And then you're able to tailor your resume to highlight those skills that would help you in those jobs, right? And even if I mentioned now in the roles, I mentioned 4 roles. I mentioned business development manager, partner development manager, customer success, and program manager. In all fairness, the first three, BDM, CSM, and PDM, the first three roles, it was very easy for me to use the same resume. With program manager, like it was very easy for this model, like the from Career Clarity to resume to LinkedIn, all of that. It was very easy for me to use that. Where it started tilting a little bit was because program manager is not customer facing. Some of my stories, and when I say stories, I'm talking of like during your interviews, like your scenarios. Tell me about yourself. Tell me about a time when. It's very easy for me to use a customer based scenario in the first three roles because they're all customer facing. But when it came to program manager, I kept using the customer facing role. I literally I got the job actually. Like I got down to the final, and they had a and I spoke with um the VP. Then was like, we actually do like your resume. We enjoyed like having conversations with you. We have a strong tilt towards you. We're just concerned that, like, he was very honest with me. Like, they were concerned that you might do well, you might do better in the customer facing role. And I laughed because that's how I felt. Like the more I did the interviews, it was like I am very geared towards customer facing experiences because that's the experience I want. Where my that's where my background, that's where my strength is. So even if he told me that, and so we kind of like politely declined each other. Like, okay, cool, I understand. By that time I already had my CSM offer, so that didn't go through with the PM role. So this is how, again, Career Clarity can kind of give you an indication of how you shape your story, because it would show up. It would show up if you're not clear on where your career is. It would show up. The disconnect would show up, whether in your LinkedIn profile and your resume or in the stories you tell. So starting with Career Clarity is always foundational. Again, if at all you want to split and figure out that, okay, and that's when maybe you have like they're very distinct, then sure, you could have multiple resumes. But personally, I wouldn't recommend more than two. And you have to be careful about how keep track of those resumes. Now, speaking of resumes, I wish I had an example to kind of like showcase here. But one of the advice that I'll give people when you're looking at your resumes and you're optimizing it is, one, make sure you have keywords. When I'm updating my resume for a job and when I'm advising people around that, one thing that I'll tell them is go on LinkedIn. Like don't review your resume in isolation from what the market wants. Again, it's a marketplace, they're buyers and sellers. What are the buyers looking for? If you don't know what the buyers are looking for, how would you present yourself to be selected by a buyer, right? So I go up there and I look at what is the job description. When they say, because sometimes even it has things like, what is required, or what is, sometimes they said preferred but not a disqualified. You could use terms like that. So figure out like what is it exactly that the market wants. Look for those keywords and make sure it's in your resume. And most times, if you look at two or three job descriptions, you would see that there's similarity in terms of the keywords they're asking for. That's how you pass the ATS test. Like that's how you're able to say, okay, these are the keywords. It has to be in my resume. Now, a lot of people use ChatGPT. ChatGPT is great. It is great, but it should not be the beginning and the end of the source of truth that you rely on. Okay. So again, go to the markets to validate what the market needs, because that's what the decision will be based on, not what chat is telling you. Chat will give you words, but it might not just be, oh, I love ChatGPT. No shame. Look, me and chat were employed at my company at the end. Okay. I love chat, but again, it should not be the beginning and the end of where your source of truth comes from. Use chat, but go to the actual job posting and look at what they're asking for and make sure those keywords are represented. And it should not be like a copy and paste. It has to tie into the story that you're telling, right? Use numbers to show impact. Start with vowels, right? Start with I said not vowels, sorry. Start with verbs that show you took initiative. Like I led, I developed, I participated, whatever it is, but make sure you're starting with an action word and you're showing the impact. And something else I tell people, sometimes I read your resume should not read like a job description posting, like a job posting. It has to have the value there. If you say, oh, I did this and it I increased productivity by 10%. Sometimes I would tell them, okay, then what happened? Like why did you need to improve productivity? And that's improve productivity because it would help drive um, it could be employee morale, it could help drive revenue, whatever. So that's sometimes you have to go dig a little bit deeper on your bullet points to understand what was the point of doing this, to understand the real impact that you got by executing that within your company, and then you're able to reflect that in your resume properly. Marcus, I'm going to give you some. I do see you have something up there.
Yeah, I just wanted to show an example while you were talking. So like the skills on the side, but like the way you were talking about the action words and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Each bullet point starts with like created or uh worked or like whatever it is, like an action word, and then I'm highlighting those what you say keywords that
Mm-hmm.
the AI is looking for basically when it's scanning through the resume. So I got all of that stuff nice and bold, and then I got the skills on the side that's also going to trigger certain things when it's scanning through this thing through the resume. And then you mentioned something about like knowing the job requirements and stuff like that. That goes into what you're putting in as for the keywords and stuff. But we'll get more into resumes later. I just wanted to show an example why you was like talking about it.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go back to what you had. There we go.
Yeah. So if anybody has any question about resume, let me know. If anyone feels, I know I did put out like a comment, like if someone had wanted to have their resume reviewed live, I could still do that. But just let me know. It's real brief though, because again, the meat of this is really the LinkedIn portion, which I'm always excited to do. But if you have a question about resume, please drop it in the chat, or if you would want to share it and we could walk through it again, you could anonymize it, take out your name or contact details. But yeah, we could do that real quick, just a hot quick take on resume. So yeah, now let's get into it, right? I think we already established that again, LinkedIn is a marketplace, right? It connects you with people and it connects you with opportunities, right? Because you are seeing the job posting, but you're also able to see the people behind the jobs, right? The hiring managers, the recruiters, your potential future co-workers, they're all there on LinkedIn. So how do you position yourself, right? So that's what we're going to go into, right? I'm going to, I usually like to start here so we kind of like see the key points, and I'll have this open on my end so I could show you, I could walk you through all the bits and pieces in terms of making your LinkedIn stand out. Because the way I look at it is, and let me go back to this slide, right? LinkedIn is a connector of people and opportunities. Two things I want us to remember throughout this process, right? And when I told you my story, it was all about getting quieting down the noise and getting ahead, like in front of the queue quickly. So that was one thing. Timing. How do I get to the front of the queue quickly enough? Two, how do I get to the right person quickly enough? So if I could merge that, like how quickly can I get to the decision makers? Like that was the big thing. So I want us to remember that we want to get to the decision makers as quickly as possible. And newsflash, recruiters are not the decision makers. Recruiters are like personal shoppers, okay? They go out there, they look at the lot, and they decide, oh, of this lot, I'm going to take 20, and we're going to go through the interview process to eventually meet with the hiring manager, who would decide along with a panel on who the actual chosen one or people would be. So that's your decision maker, the hiring manager. So you want to get in front of them as quickly as possible. But in doing that, there is no point ushering yourself to them and then you don't have a profile that is ready. You don't have a well put together persona to present to them. So that's why I want us to walk through some of the key things around your LinkedIn profile, things I would recommend that you do to clean up your LinkedIn profile. So if anybody comes there, they can clearly see the value that you're bringing. They can clearly see that, oh, right, this is what she's showcasing in the marketplace, because what you're showcasing is important. Perception is reality, right? And because there's so much noise, there's so many people in the pool, you want to be able to put your best foot forward as quickly as possible. So without much ado, I'm going to switch to my LinkedIn profile. I believe I'm still sharing my whole window. Okay, perfect. Let's pull that up. And I apologize because this one, I'm not sure how to make it bigger because, okay, I guess I hacked it. I hope this is showing well on yours. And I'm going to walk you through my LinkedIn profile and I'll highlight a couple of things that I would want us to take note of. So one is, as simple as it is, make sure you have a banner profile, like a banner picture. Pick something random from the internet, pick any random thing from the free options that LinkedIn gives you, but make sure you have a banner picture. Now, think of it like LinkedIn is a marketplace, but it's also a social media. LinkedIn is a social media. It is just targeting business people. So if you think of it like Instagram, right? The way everyone wanted to go viral, during COVID, everyone was perhaps trying to see, everybody was dancing or doing stuff and like able to tell you, oh, you have to post by this time to get the view or whatever it is. I didn't dance. I don't know if you all did. Like, no shame. I wish I danced, man. I wish I, danced and got some money. All the weird dances people were doing that time. But overall, I would say for LinkedIn, the more complete, there are rules as well for engagement. The more complete your profile is, the better for you. The algorithm would favor you. The way Instagram has its algorithm where you're supposed to post by this time and use this hashtag and blah, blah, blah. It's the same way LinkedIn has its algorithm as well that would favor you if you have certain things done. And one of them is a complete profile. Okay. So again, your banner, have a banner image, have a good profile picture, a professional profile picture. Newsflash, the image there is AI generated. But I like to say the face is still mine. So what I used just on this, I used Nano Banana. So it's Gemini's AI image generator. You could do that as well if you need, so you don't have to go think of how do I get a photo shoot done. Get a really good picture with good lighting. Have ChatGPT or whatever help create a good prompt for you describing a professional image. Put that in Gemini or and use that to get a profile picture, but have a good profile picture that shows you in a professional setting. The second thing I would want to talk about, or the third at this point, is your tagline. I guess there's another name for it, but you see this part here where I put here post sales excellence, customer success manager, business value driver. Now, it's a way to just quickly summarize what you bring into the marketplace, because on the recruit, now this is me as a seller of my value. I can have my whole page and I put all that information out there, but the recruiter on their end, they are seeing it, but they're going to see it like a list. And as much as they would see is your name and your tagline before they go in to click and decide, oh, let me go in there to see more about this lady or this gentleman. So your tagline is very important. There are different rules around this. And for the lovers of chat, I think chat would also tell you the same thing around like how to create a tagline. For people that love chat, I would say maybe take your resume, throw your resume in there in chat and tell it to come up with a tagline for you. Tell it to come up with a tagline for you that you could use on LinkedIn. Ask it to give you different variations. You could use a mix of AI. You could use chat, you could use Gemini, compare the results, mix and match, whatever works for you. But that's one way you could use AI to help you with a tagline. So you could keep it at the role that you do, the industry you specialize in, and then the value that you bring. So that's like a three-pronged role that people usually use. So for me, I did post-sales excellence. I'm in post-sales. I've been a customer success manager for 4+ years now. So I'm part of the post-sales cycle. So I put there post-sales excellence, customer success manager, my role. I decided not to go industry specific, and I just kept it customer success. And last one I have there is business value driver. That's the impacts that I bring. Now, you could define it in different ways. Again, you could employ ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever other LLM that you would want to help define that for you. The other thing I would want to point out is your connections. Try to grow your connections as much as possible. It's really important. Now, LinkedIn has this thing where it helps you, it tracks up to your third connection, right? You have your first connection. That means person A is connected to person B. You have your second connection, where you're connected to person B and person B is connected to person C. So your second connection to person C. I hope that makes sense. So a second level connection is you're connected to someone that is connected to them. And third level, you're connected to someone that's connected to someone that's connected to them. Like, so that's how it goes. So LinkedIn will track up to your third connection. And if you're in a recruiter's third connection, when they are searching on their end, the probability of them finding you is higher. So make sure you do have you have a good number of connections. Follow recruiters in your field. I would trust me. I know sometimes, and a lot of things I'll be saying here might seem uncomfortable because it would require you to do a lot more than just applying. But let's put it this way: recruiters would love if my job was to go out there and catch a bear or a deer or something, I don't know, and to catch some wildlife animal, and then the animal runs up and says, "Take me, I'm ready." I'm like, "Oh yeah, cool. I will catch it. I'm just gonna go on vacation." Like, boom, work done, right? So the whole idea is, if you're able to position yourself such that the recruiter can get that job requisition field, they are excited. So you're doing them a favor, right? When you help them help you, if that makes sense, right? So recruiters are open to people connecting with them, right? So send a connection request to recruiters that you meet, especially if you go to conferences and you're meeting people, grow your connections. I would recommend hitting the 500 plus connections on LinkedIn. That's my general recommendation. For your about section, your about section is typically searchable, right? It uses a Boolean search. So it's like true or false. Like a recruiter goes in on their end on LinkedIn, because again, LinkedIn is a social media. It's where, but then the recruiters also have their own, let me see if this is where it shows. So we see here, like this is for the hiring, talent insight, blah, blah, blah. So for recruiters, they have all of, they literally come here to find people. Like they have their own view when they log into and they're trying to find people. So when they put in certain keywords, they're able to find people based on their about section, right? If they're looking for someone with project management skills, they have the keywords they would search for. They're looking for someone in procurement, on and on and on. So make sure your about section is detailed, okay? And again, you have all those characters, use it, okay? So this is my about section. This was updated, again, when I was trying to get the job. So, and I'll tell you some of the things I considered when I was framing my about section. I led with my certifications. Now I have a ProSci certification. It's common within the change management or customer success management field. So I did lead with that certification, say, hey, I'm a certified change manager, right? And sales professional with X number of years. So I led with that, whereas this is my certification, this is my number of years of experience, right? So you want to be able to capture that, like put that in there first of all. The other thing I did, because I knew that the about section was searchable, I made sure that I threw in certain keywords. So I broke it down this way. So the recent award for me, it was just a way for them to see that, hey, I have done things excellently in the past and I'm able to do it again, right? Technical tools, depending on what they're looking for in their, they can already see that, oh, like I can use all of these tools, or I know some of these frameworks, blah, blah, blah. But core competency is where I really leveraged any keyword that they're looking for. As far as they want someone in customer success, I know that they'll be looking at running quarterly business reviews. I know that they'll be talking about the metrics, right? Churn rates, monthly active usage. I know they'll be talking about strategy and data analysis and workshop facilitation. So some of these things which I believed were key to the things that I wanted to do, I made sure that were found here. And again, if we go back to that career clarity, those roles that I talked about, especially the business development manager, the program partner development manager, customer success manager, all the same skills are like, it's literally the same competencies that would translate across the same roles. Again, which is why it's good to start with career clarity, because it really does trickle down from your resume to your LinkedIn to even the stories you tell during the interview, right? So make sure that you update that, right? So again, update your about section, put in those keywords in there, and yeah, utilize that, because again, it's that Boolean search. And what this did for me, or when I was doing this, one of the things I was looking for was, I didn't again want to go with that 100 resumes a day thing. I wanted to make sure I was targeted as possible. In fact, I wanted to create the atmosphere, like I wanted to create a situation where the recruiters could also find me. Okay, I want the recruiters to be able to come back and say, hey, or come in and they're searching and they find me and be like, hey, I have this role, are you interested? While I'm also out there looking for the job. I wanted a two-way street. Okay, so updating your LinkedIn also allows you to do that. And I'll talk a little bit more about the other things I did to help increase my chances of being found on LinkedIn. Okay, because again, two-way street. I'm looking for the job, but I also want the job to be looking for me, right? Because it makes it easier. It helps you build that pipeline, because that's what you want. Because at the end of the day, it is a numbers game, but I don't think it's a numbers game in terms of throwing out 100 resumes a day. I think it's a numbers game in terms of making sure you're positioning yourself such that you have that steady pipeline coming in, right? And you're prioritizing quality over quantity. Yeah. Okay. So that's about section. Now let's go down to experience. Updates again. LinkedIn would favor the completeness of your profile. So use your skills, the skills portion of LinkedIn. Make sure you use your skills portion. If they say you could choose up to 50 skills, put 50 skills there, right? Like everything from, I mean, these are some of the skills that I've selected for this job. And you could also move them around when you're editing them, right? Because and you want to lead with the skill that is strongest for the job, right? For the experience that you're putting in there. Like for example, if I put a skill like MS Word, even a 7th grader has MS Word on their resume. You know what I mean? Like everybody can use Microsoft Office. So it's not like what's the word? It's not a distinguished skill, like it's not a specialized skill, right? That you would want to lead with. So in that case, I wouldn't have MS Office as the first skill here. If I want to just add on that skill, it can be the 10th one. But I want to lead with the things that are very specific for the role that or the work that I did here. So when you're putting your skill, you could rearrange them. I do see a question here on how to engage with recruiters after they find you. Any advice? I'll take that shortly. Because after this, like dealing with your profile, I'll go into the engaging generally on LinkedIn, and I'll make sure to answer that. That's a good question. So yeah, make sure you put all of this in here. Have your education, blah blah blah. Have your certificates. What else? Oh, and I would say join groups on LinkedIn. Join groups on LinkedIn. And I would also explain why that's important. So all these other ones, perhaps they might not be as strong as you know, but just as much as you can, again, just to go with the idea of completing your profile on LinkedIn, make sure you fill all those areas. But pertaining to your job, as simple as your banner, remember your banner, your profile picture, the tagline, very important, because again, on the recruiter's end, they put in some keywords, they get a list returned to them, and they see it just your name and your tagline before they decide to click in and see more about you. So make sure this is strongly indicative of your value. And again, update your about section. This is just a quick recap I'm doing. Update your about section and update your skills portion. Those are key things. Let's see. I want to see if there's any question around LinkedIn so far. Okay. No question about updating the profile itself. Okay. So I did 3 things I would address before I jump into the question we have in the chat. So number 1, I've already addressed connecting with recruiters. Join groups. Groups also helps you expand your connections, right? It helps you expand the people that you're meeting. So make sure you join as many groups as possible that are relevant to your field, please. Just keep it relevant. 2, engage on LinkedIn. Now, I talked about being findable on LinkedIn, right? Being searchable and creating that two-way street. And I'll give you this my personal experience. Whenever I was looking for a job, I updated my profile and I started posting. Within 2 days, I started seeing an increase in recruiters reaching out to me. Like it was instantaneous. And I kept posting and I would post random things. I would post, oh, I listened to this, I watched this TED talk. It was such a great TED talk. I would work with ChatGPT to come up with a random post. I'll put it on LinkedIn. The more I posted, the more I did see more engagement from recruiters. Now, at the point in which I got my job, every other thing remained constant. Like my profile was already updated, it was there. I was, oh, one more thing, or rather two things. When you're updating, and maybe I should go to LinkedIn to do this. You want to, first of all, as we're doing all these edits to our LinkedIn, I'm not even sure if it's here. I'm not sure if it's here. So pardon me if I can't find it immediately, but I would want you, oh, settings on privacy. Please go to settings on privacy and make sure you update your visibility to where you see share job changes, blah, 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 off. Turn it off, because if you're updating your LinkedIn and you are making all those changes, making changes to your titles, making changes, somebody out there might be saying, oh, Tochi just changed her job. You don't want that. Okay. Like just turn it off and make your changes to LinkedIn. Because one thing I would want us to have in terms of mindset, I think I did see a question about like what was the most difficult. It was really my mind, reframing my mind. I think that's the hardest part, because it's something you have to consistent. It's not a one and done. I could change my profile picture is one and done, but I have to constantly reframe my mind. And for me, it was I had to keep a continuous improvement mindset. Like, boom, I've done this. Is it working? Is it not working? I had to take this experimental mindsets. Like I had to be DD. Like, what does this button do? Yes, not Dexter, DD. What does this button do? Oh, okay, this is what it does. Okay, let's try it again. What's the next one? What does this do? I had to just go with that experimental mindset and make sure that as I was learning, as I was going, I was implementing. So yeah, turn this off so you can make as many changes as possible without alerting the whole world that you're making changes. The other thing that I would recommend that you do is you want to indicate that you're open to work. But I'm not a fan of the badge. Personally, I think the badge, and this was the idea, I didn't do the badge back then because I felt it was noisy. Again, I wanted to cut through the noise, like seeing that badge of open to work. So you probably, anyways, just do open to finding a job, and then you're able to select that you're open to recruiters only. That's what you want to do, because this way you're cutting through like I don't think I mean I could now it different strokes for different folks. Maybe some people having the open to work, anybody could help them, but I don't want, like, I want people to see me versus seeing the badge. And I've heard that another recruiter say this. Actually, I've heard that recruiters say they actually do prefer not to see the open to work thing. But different strokes for different folks, because your network could see it and remember you and refer you for things that could work. But I also felt like I could engage my network directly, and I'd rather just be open to recruiters. That way, they, like, the people that can make decisions to help me is what I wanted, right? I didn't want a pity party. I didn't want it, because that's 2023. I felt like it was the height of whenever a lot of people lost their job, and I'm like, okay, I need the people that can help me to help me. And for me, it was recruiters. So I just had that turned on. So you do want to have your visibility turned on, over there. I forget where I was now. Let me just go back to the PowerPoint to remember. Okay, yes, engaging on LinkedIn. So every other thing was constant, right? Every other thing was constant. Like I had my profile set up and all of that, but I realized that the moment I stopped posting and engaging on LinkedIn, the number of recruiters that were engaging me reduced. So that was my personal experience. And so I would always be an advocate. Like, while you've done all of this and while you're searching, while you're open to work, you want to make sure that you are engaging on LinkedIn. Twice a week is enough. It doesn't have to be anything. And it doesn't have to be anything like mind-blowing. It could be as simple as, oh yeah, I watched this TED Talk video. It's talking about managing change. It's not exactly tied to and just change generally in life. It's not exactly tied to like what I do professionally, but it's something inspirational. Or I saw this productivity hack on how to use AI or whatever. I just put like whatever it is, I would just post. Or I took a certification, you know, I now have this bad blah blah. I would post it. So little things like that I think helped my findability. Um, the other thing is when you engage in groups, because you could also leverage, if you join groups, you could post on your profile, you could post in the group, you could go on. Now, if I join a group that's a customer success group, I could see content that other people have posted. I could simply repost that, but I'll repost it with my own thoughts, and I'll repost it saying, oh, this is great stuff that I saw from this person, da, da, da. And that's a post for me. I didn't have to regenerate the content, but I did leverage that to boost my engagement on LinkedIn. Another thing is, while I was in those groups, there were times where I would see people post like, oh, this role just opened up within my company. I wanted to post it here first. And if there are any ones that are like maybe an affinity group, maybe for Latinos, Latinx, or for women, whatever, if there are those affinity groups, join them, because again, some people would post job opportunities there like that they see within their companies. So that's another way. Again, it's not the there are key strategies, and then there are the supporting strategies. Joining a group on LinkedIn is a supporting strategy, just generally. LinkedIn Premium, to have or not to have. I think if you can afford it, go for it. I think if you're on the fence, at least do the trial. If not, you could still find your way around it. Okay. Now let's go into the other bit of it where it is. Oh, I want to make sure I answered the question directly. Where it's how do you engage with recruiters after they find you? And I will say this also. So there are times when recruiters will send you a message, and maybe I don't see it till the next day, and I send them back a message and I don't hear from them. That also did happen. And I realized that the sooner I answered them, the better it was for me. So if they engage me that, hey, I saw your LinkedIn, blah, 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 are you open to a chat? I'm like, yes. And most times they would send you that with a link to like book some time with them. So it kind of just puts you into the recruiting pool where you do your informational, or you do your first level interview or the recruiter screening with them, and then you go from there. But if they are finding me, I just go with the connection, right? But I try to respond as quickly as possible, because chances are they are sending that message to many other people, and most times they're trying to recruit for like one role. If they get like 10 people that responded to them much more quickly than you did, they'll probably start the process for them. And again, literally everybody in the job market probably has like similar skills that you have. So for them, it's like, oh, we already have 10 good candidates. Why add another one into the mix? Maybe that might just be their thinking. So I would just say try to do it as quickly as possible. But typically, if they're reaching out, you just go into the interview process as usual. Okay, so now let us look at some other things to consider. I'm going to skip. Okay, let's see. Okay, let's go back to LinkedIn. I'm going to reduce this a little bit. I hope it's still clear on your end. Now, if anybody has a role that they want me to search on, I'd like to be as distinct as possible. Try to be as real world as possible. So if you're recruiting for a particular job title and you want me to use it as an example, please just put it in the chat. So I see full stack. So let's try that. Now there's this stuff. Now what I'm showing you now is how to search on LinkedIn. Okay, we're not searching for food, and I might be hungry actually, but we're not doing that. Instead, we're going to do I'm hiring. So there's something called I'm hiring and we are hiring. Now, if you see someone post I'm hiring, before I actually go into this, but I want to say this, but I feel like many people might know it already. When you're searching for jobs on LinkedIn, you want to be able to make sure you do this. Again, I started all this by saying you want to get as quickly as possible. You want to get to the decision maker as quickly as possible. As quickly as possible means that you are looking at jobs that have been posted in the past week or past 24 hours, please. So I usually say past week. Past week is what I do most of the time. Make sure that the rest of like every other thing you could adjust it as you want. If you want remote, blah blah blah. But this is really important because as quickly as possible is what you want. There are times where I would do this. I would reach out to someone. Maybe the job had been out there for like a week plus, maybe 2 weeks, and they're like, "Hey, we're already in the final stages, or we've really progressed, and we feel like we have a good pull." Like I would literally get that feedback. So just at a base level, make sure you're doing this. Okay. So let's go back and let's do the I'm hiring. Now, what this is, you're going to be searching within LinkedIn. So I've showed you how to just search for a job real quick, but making sure that the filter is optimized to help you get in front of the pool. The other thing you're doing is you are searching for people, because again, this is a marketplace where you have the buyers and sellers. So there are people who are posting there that they are looking for people. So we see Ava has posted that Monday morning is the perfect time to find a job, and she's hiring a hybrid full stack Java developer, right? So there are people who are going on LinkedIn to post about the jobs. Now, I showed you the first level where you're searching through jobs, you're filtering, you have your list of 600 jobs or whatever. Perfect. This is different slightly because you're seeing the person behind the job. If someone says I'm hiring, I would believe like she's a software engineer recruiter, boom, right? So I'm hiring is either it's the recruiter or it's the hiring manager. And that is the person you want. Remember, as quickly as possible to the decision maker. If I could even skip the recruiter, I would skip the recruiter. If I could find the hiring manager, but I've seen the recruiter and it's all good. Now, what I'll do here, because again, I want to, 2 weeks in, she probably has, a very good pipeline of possible candidates. So I'm going to filter this by past week, and I will see the things that are much more recent. Now I see Glendon is also looking for a full stack engineer. Oh, he's in the Philippines. Oh, well. And this is Malaysia, and this is Spain, blah, 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 and this is Dubai. So this is also something that I did, and this is where you would have to come by filter and adjust as well. Sometimes you could figure out like, okay, first connections, blah, blah, blah. But this is not an exact science. That's also something that I've noticed. It's not an exact science. Again, the core thing is to search by the jobs, but this, if you're able to find, you can then now find one that is in US. So in this case, when I come, because this has happened as well for me when I've searched like this, some of the things I will do to try to optimize the search a little bit is that I'll put United States and see what it gives me. It's not the cleanest. Sometimes it's not the cleanest. Like we put full stack, but we're seeing sales specialists. So that could happen. But what I would do here is I would keep searching maybe every other week and try to find someone who says I'm hiring. The other thing that I would do is I would switch from I'm hiring to we are hiring. Now, we are hiring is for someone who is not the hiring manager, but they work with the company and they are just posting the job. So, for example, I mean, this is the company, but the company is saying we're hiring, blah blah. But I can see that okay, this is a US job. It's last 13 hours, blah blah. So I could go on there to apply. Same for Tech Value, same for Academia Inc. So I'm beginning to see. I see that at least for this job title, for this search, I'm getting better response or better results with we're hiring. And just generally, hashtags is a great way to search. Because literally that's what's helping us find some of these jobs. Another thing, and I'm just gonna run it real quick, but that's the whole idea of using I'm hiring. I could do software developer, same thing, and I will make sure that it is past week. And I see one from NASCAR. They're looking for a senior software engineer contract, blah, blah, blah. So I can see that this person is now, okay, at the base level, this is showing me the job. But why I like this method is that it's showing me the person behind the job. Now, what do I want to do with the person behind the job? I want to understand who the hiring manager is, right? So in the first example we did, we saw Ava. Now, in this case, is Paulo. And Ava was a recruiter, right? I don't know what Paulo's job title is. He's a senior manager. So it's possible that he may be the hiring manager, but I do see that he just looks like he just randomly posts a lot of things. So I need to check to even see, okay, is he even like, what is this job about and who is he going to report to? So what I will do is I'll come here, I'll look at the job. Sometimes within the job description, they would put in there, this role would report to so and so, like maybe the VP of engineering or the VP of like whatever it is. So if that is put in there, I would know that my decision maker is the VP of so and so. So I go in there to find the person, and I'll show you how I find the person. But here I'm looking through it, and it's not saying who it would be. Now I'm not if anybody could help me within what they call it, the chat, who do you think would be the hiring manager for this kind of role? Like if there's a senior software engineer, who would be their boss or their boss's boss? Let's see if we have any takers in the chat. No idea. Okay, so I would guess. I wonder if they would have like a VP of engineering, right? I don't know if that would be like a role there. So what I would do is I'll go into the company and I would search people. CEO is a little bit up there. I mean, CEO hires everybody reports to the CEO, but it's a little bit up there. I want a direct link, right? So I'm going to come here and I'm going to search VP of engineering. Yeah, and I just put that in and I search. And I probably just want people in the US. So looks like there's not a lot of them, just 4 people, which is good because it kind of narrows it down for me. And I can decide who he is. The executive competition director at Toyota Racing. There's that person. There is a senior manager, commercial engineering. Okay. So what I'm looking for is like a senior role, who that role that I'm looking at would potentially report to. Does that make sense? So when I find that person, so let's say I assume that it's going to be this person, this director, Andy Graves, I would go back to that job. I wish I opened a new tab because now I've lost it. But I would go back to that job and I see, oh, there we go. There's this person. There's also, like, even from his page, I can see some other things that have been posted. Like in this case, for example, he even said Andrea Wong is hiring. Imagine finding this and seeing that, okay, I know what the hiring manager is or what the recruiter might be, and I go there and I'm able to message them. Same with this person. This person, let's see the full message here. This was 6 months ago, but he's the CIO and he's getting a manager for software. So potentially this person would report to him. So why I like, again, the whole point of this is I'm not just seeing the job, I'm seeing the person behind the job. I would apply for the job and then I would go in and send a message to Johnny Elliott or whoever that person is. This is an example because this is a 6-month-old post. So they probably already hired for this job or, so for whatever it might be, like in that example I was doing, we're assuming that Andy Graves might be the person, like just going through who we think the director might be. And I would send Andy Graves a message. Now, the way it is, and even if I'm not sure if Andy Graves is, because I've seen here that Andrea Wong is hiring, and I also see that Andrea Wong she's the HR business advisor. I would just, again, if she hired before, she could hire again. So I'm going to send her a message as well. And that's where these are the things you could do that could set you apart, because again, everybody's applying, but not everybody's reaching out to the people who are actually making those decisions. And I'll craft a message and say, hi, Andrea, or hi, Andy. I just came across this role on LinkedIn. I've applied. I just want to follow up with a quick note. And in the next paragraph, I'm putting a quick summary of my skill and the value that I bring. And I put in, I'm excited to meet your team and discuss more about this opportunity. I'm not asking them for a coffee chat. I'm not asking them to tell me about the culture. I'm not asking them to tell me about themselves. That's not what I want, because when we think of these people that are they're executives, they're HR advisors, they're dealing with high volume. Okay, they're busy individuals. So I want to cut through the noise and be very effective in how I'm interacting with them. When it comes to communication, I have a three role approach. What do I want them to know? What do I want them to feel? What do I want them to do? So what do I want them to know is me selling my value. What do I want them to feel? I want them to feel confident that I am able to do what they are looking for. And then what do I want them to, so what do I want them to know, to feel, and what do I want them to do to move me on to the next round, to make a decision about me. So I'm going to make sure that I provide all the information I want to provide them with all the information that I can, right, to help them make that decision. And I'll show you an example. Actually, I could show you one now. I'm trying to remember his name. Okay, let's do this. I hope there's, okay, let's search. Oh, no, I'm supposed to search within messages. It was Workday. The person was in Workday. Okay, I'm going to show you a conversation with Mike. Now, this was a job that I had seen Mike post, right, through the I'm hiring, you're hiring, blah, blah. So I said, hi, Mike, blah, blah, introduce myself. So this role, I've put out an application. I wanted to follow up with the notes. And I put in this spiel about all of this. And then I said, hey, I'd love a chance to chat more about this opportunity and how, like, I'm not trying to ask you about how long have you been at Workday? Nope. And I did two things in addition to this. Now, it might seem futile, like, why should I put a link to my LinkedIn profile in here? Now, I did that because we're in messages, but I want you to be able to, like, I don't want you to start scrolling up to my face so you could click my profile. I want you from here, boom, you can go to my profile. And again, I've optimized my profile. I've updated everything. I have it polished to showcase my value clearly. And then the second thing I did was, I don't know if it's still there, but I put a read. Okay, let's see if this link still works. I think it's still there in my, okay, I think I took it out. I guess I took it out. I put a read-only link to my resume in that message, right? I uploaded my resume, saved it as a PDF. I uploaded my resume on, where's that thing called? On Google Drive, right? And then I took that link. When you're doing that, make sure you make the link accessible to anyone can view this link. Otherwise, you do this and you're like, oh, it's not working because, yeah, they can't access your resume because it's restricted. So make sure the link is viewable by everyone, right? So I do that. And then I go to a link, a URL shorten it, rename it. So they say that, okay, this link is going to take me to her resume. And boom, this was an outlier. I'm not going to lie. I sent this by 9:20. He responded 10:39. You seem to have a lot of what we're looking for. Thanks for sending me the notes. I've sent my recruiter a note. Boom. Again, what I told you, recruiters are personal shoppers. But if I could get in front of the decision maker, he will point them to me, right? He's like, I'm going to tell my, and while I was yet replying, boom, recruiter is in my inbox. Let's schedule some time. Now, I will preface this by saying, in my experience, this was like a 20 to 30% success rate, meaning for every 10 that you send out, maybe 2 would respond. And that's why what's the difficult part is the mindset, because it's like you might be doing this and you're like, this is so hectic, but it's in the keeping at it. It's okay, what is working for me? What can I refine? Blah, 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 right? So you want to be able to, what's the word? Keep at it, even if it's not you, then, because at the end of it, one thing I would think of when I was doing this was, I only need one job. I don't need all 10 of them. And it was so funny, like literally in searching for the hiring manager, I had sent to this person literally the same thing, but he didn't respond to me. Mike Bryson did, and again, in the spirit of, in the spirit of continuous improvement, whenever I sent to David, I had only put in my LinkedIn resume, my LinkedIn profile. For Mike, I was like, boom, okay, let me put in my resume. Maybe that was a differentiating factor. And, even after him, I started also doing that, making sure that the link to my resume was in there as well. Because I think, again, I want them to have all the information they can to make the decision about my situation, right? I want them to be able to, they're decision makers, They're not trying to give me an information about what the culture is like. Mm-mm. Boom, I've seen that you have a lot of what we're looking for, and I'll get the recruiter to talk to you. There are times where people wouldn't even respond, but I would see that a recruiter in this role, you know, viewed your profile, or somebody in this company viewed your profile, or this person viewed your profile. So sometimes you might not even get feedback, but you are diverting the attention to you, and then they can make a decision. Okay. So now that was a lot, and let me know if you all have any questions. Let me try to pull up the deck again. Okay. So let me show you. Okay, so these are the things in terms of the outreach. Coffee chats. I'm not a believer in coffee chats for recruiters, and now it could work. Let me not kill the idea, because it could probably work. But this is how I view it. What's the persona of the person that I'm engaging? The people most likely to respond to a coffee chat are probably other employees within the job, like a peer or something. A recruiter is dealing with high volume. They are trying to figure out how they're going to fill this job. Coffee chats could be awkward too, right? So I don't know. Yeah, coffee chats for me is an informational. Is I want to gather information about this company, and I think sometimes most of the information we're asking for is even accessible online, or we could ask other employees within the company about it. For me, that's where I would direct coffee chats to. If I'm engaging a recruiter, I'm engaging them with a purpose that you have this job opening that I've seen, that I've applied to, and I just wanted to follow up with a note, right? And also like present my resume so that boom, they can see it in that message and they can click on it and then make a decision. So whether it's a recruiter or a hiring manager, like that's the opposite. For me, that's the reason I'm engaging you. Coffee chats, I think sometimes why they feel awkward is because really most of the information you can get it online, unless you want to get the low about like, or the real about like, what's the culture? You know, what exactly is the culture here? And I think that you can maybe get from peers, like your like maybe other employees within the company or just someone. Yeah, exactly. Think of it that way. How many coffee chats would they? So that's why for me in your outreach template, you want to be able to be clear about what you're asking for. So I didn't ask that guy like, hey, tell me, can we talk about your culture, or can we have a coffee chat? I'm like, hey, I want to move on in the process. I want to chat about this opportunity. That's what I want, right? So you have to be clear in the ask. So give them the information they need to help them make the decision. Now I'm going to share, so you could screen grab this if you want, because I think I did see someone ask about templates. So this was my templates that I used. This was literally the exact same thing. Now I would say some things about this. What would I do differently? I think I'll make this shorter. It worked for me back then, but I do think I would make this shorter. I think this middle part is needed to be heavy. So I'll be a little bit succinct in my summarization of the value that I'm bringing. So that's the only thing that I would probably, that's one of the key things I'll change here. So what are the key things, whether you're using these templates, blah, blah, what are the key things that I would want you to remember when you're thinking of an outreach template? Now we have ChatGPT, so you don't even have to do this with your like full, like you could literally just, have your partner in crime there, ChatGPT helping you, or Gemini, or whatever other AI tool you use. So the first thing is you want to be clear about the role that you're applying for. So for me, it was, hey, I saw this position posted on LinkedIn, because sometimes hiring managers are hiring for different roles or different positions, whatever. So you want to be clear about that. The second thing is you want to apply. Now think of it, they're decision makers. So for that guy, he could easily say, I've sent a note to the recruiter. He's going to reach out to you. I was already in the system. Imagine the back and forth is, oh, great. So I'll send the recruiter to you. I say, oh, no, wait, I haven't applied. Let me apply. Like, we don't want that. Put in the application. So you're already in the system. So you meet, like, the recruiter can, boom, go in there, find you, schedule some time with you. Okay. The other thing is you want to then, like, summarize your expertise. Again, for me, I would have probably made this a little bit shorter. So anyways, you would want to talk about your expertise and your experience, right? You want to highlight those and just summarize it quickly. Then the next thing is you want to be clear about your ask. I want to chat more about this opportunity. I'm looking forward to engage your team or move or engage your team in this in the process or whatever it is, but just being very clear in what you're asking for. And of course, have links that allows them to see more information about you. Now, we talked about LinkedIn Premium. If you have LinkedIn Premium, you can afford to have a worthy outreach email or message like this. And that's why I could do that. If you don't have LinkedIn Premium, that's when you would have to reduce this really well, and in that case, you could still do it. You just have to have a highly summarized message, right? So you could just be, hey, I'm writing to like, hey, I saw this role, I've applied, here's my resume. However many characters you could summarize it into to allow you to send an outreach message without paying for premium. But then again, if you can do the premium trial for 1 month and just make sure you go heavy that month, I would recommend you do that as well. So that's what I would say here. Any questions? I feel like there's something else I did want to talk about. I want to talk about referrals. Now, so BYOB/C. I don't even know what B is. Maybe C is. I can't remember what I meant by B. It's not bottles for sure, but I think it's build your own. I don't know what B was. Maybe, but C is connection. Build your own connection. Let's ignore the B. Build your own connection. So should you build your own connection or should you go with referrals? So sending this outreach message is what I call building your own connection, because most times we try to get people to refer us within a company and we don't have them to refer us, right? Because it sort of helps our application. So if you don't have anybody to refer you, you build your own connection, you find a hiring manager. So for me, that was where I would go in. It's like if I see a job I really liked, I would go in and hunt down who I think might be a hiring manager for that role. But in the case of referrals, I remember someone asking me this. Someone said they'll refer you, but they're wasting time. What should you do? Apply. Because again, timing matters. That's why we're doing all the filters and trying to find ones that have been posted within a week, right? Because we want to get into the pool quickly enough. So apply and move on and build your own connection if you need to. Okay, like reach out to who the person might be. Now, if you do have someone, and again, it could not be the person's fault. Okay, sometimes you're like, well, this person didn't refer me. They're probably also overworked or whatever. Life is happening. So if they're not able to do within 1 or 2 days or 3 days of you asking, where it's not just rolling into like another full week of the job being out there, you could give them some time. Or if it's taking too long, boom. Because again, as quickly as possible to the decision makers. But if they're referring you, this is an extra step. I don't have a template for this to share right now, but I'll just walk you through how I would tell someone to refer me, which is once they refer me, I would ask them if they're okay sending a note to who the hiring manager might be. Now, because these people on the back end, on their local, like their own internal portal, they can see who the hiring manager for the job is, right? Because they're on the inside, they're employees, so they know for sure. All we're doing on LinkedIn is speculation. We're trying to figure out who they are, but they know for sure who the hiring manager is. So what I would do is I would ask them, hey, are you comfortable like doing a reach out to just figure it out? And this is what I would tell them. And just like I have a template for reaching out to folks, I would also prepare it for them because I want to make it as easy as possible for these people. Imagine telling someone to craft an out, like to reach out. It might seem uncomfortable, but if I have a template they can copy and paste, then it's easy. Like, okay, I just have to copy and paste it. So these are the things I'll tell them to do. And I'll say it like how it would be written, right? So this is what you would write and share with them. So you're like, hi, whoever the hiring manager is. So if they're on Slack or in Teams, they could just tag the person. I see that you are hiring. I see you have an open position for so-and-so role. I just referred whoever, you, me, right? But instead of just putting my name, they'll put a link to my LinkedIn, again, pointing them to the LinkedIn so they could see my profile and be able to like get more information about me, right? So I have referred this person and I think they'll be a great fit for the role, whatever. And then I'll ask them, I'll end it with this where it's, are you still actively hiring for the job? And that's the end of the outreach messages. So again, you start by addressing whoever the person. So the person sending the referral will put in whoever the person's name. They refer to the job title. They put in your LinkedIn profile, right? So the person can go in there and quickly see you, and maybe again, because they're talking to the hiring manager. Remember, the recruiters are the ones doing all this, and they're seeing all the resumes, but the hiring manager sees you and sees, oh, this person has what we need, and says, oh yeah, let's add him to the pool, let's bring him in, right? So that's what you want, because in case the recruiter missed you, let the hiring manager make sure you're looked in. So send a link to your resume. They put a link to your LinkedIn profile, and then they end with the question, are you actively hiring for the role? Why it's great to end with a question is because it prompts them to respond. Now, the hiring manager would come in and say, oh, yeah, we're actively hiring. Thanks for sharing this, right? And then they might offer that. I've done that for people, and they were like, hey, I would even like to have a conversation with them first before even HR. So there's some people that would actually they will have like an information, like through that, they would have a conversation with the hiring manager first. And once they seal that deal, everything is almost like formality, at least, the HR, because the hiring manager is really excited, like they really started the interview process informally in some ways, right? So they could ask for maybe a name for you to do an intro, or they could be like, oh yeah, I'm going to tell the recruiter to pull them in, or they could give you feedback that, yeah, we're not actively hiring anymore. And in that case, you can now, or whoever is referring you can then take that information and let you know that, oh, they're already far along in the process. So either ways, doing that active referral process versus passive. And what I call passive is someone just refers you and moves on. So active is they're able to engage the hiring manager on your behalf, steer them to your profile, and engage them to figure out where things are in the process. So that way you're getting feedback on whether you've been put into the pool, or whether, they're really gone ahead in the process, right? And then you can just, okay, cool, that ship has sailed, on to the next one. Okay, I'm going to answer a couple of questions. How useful do you think LinkedIn Premium is? What are your thoughts on sending short notes when sending a connection request? I think a short note connection request is good. I think LinkedIn Premium is useful, especially when you're job searching, because sometimes even in the job posting, and let me try to switch out of this. Let me go back to let me go back in here and let's look for a random job. Sometimes when you're on here on they could show who posted the job. I'm trying to see how I could see it quickly without digging into the actual job. Oh, meet the hiring team. So you could see who posted with someone in HR. So this, I think, is a premium feature. So you could see someone who is the hiring manager. So yeah, on and on. That is probably one of the upsides to having LinkedIn Premium. It also shows you all these things, but personally, of course, my job market. Well, it could also show you all this, like, oh, you are a great fit for this job because of the like, this is your. But I don't know that those are. I mean, it could be a confidence booster, but I think two major things I like about LinkedIn Premium is the ability to send messages and send lengthy, like you have more characters to play with, and then sometimes it also shows you that whoever posted the job, and then you have someone you can engage with on the job. Although, like, for example, for this one, I could send to Justin, but I actually prefer to message who I believe might be the hiring manager versus HR. That's just my personal preference, because HR, they're dealing with volume. This one doesn't say who it reports to. Again, sometimes the job summary could say, oh, this job would report to so and so. So that's one thing. But in this case, like, if there are for community oral, I don't know much about this role. I have it on my search history because I was helping someone search something. But for strategic sourcing, I could look for, if I want to figure out who the hiring manager is, it will probably be a VP of a VP of sourcing, right? Or even looking at this role, let's see, yeah, it's not very clear here. I think I'm going off tangent, but I hope that answered your question about connection request. Connection request is great when when you're connecting with someone after you've met them do something, or and I could show you an example of a connection request I have now that I'll probably I forget how they do that. I think it's on the network. Okay. I don't know if this is now, but so things like this is great. Like it kind of gives me a little bit of context. Let's see, show all. Yeah, it helps me figure out like how I met the person, or it gives me context. So yes, I think it does increase the likelihood of you being accepted when you do have a connection, like a note in your connection. But there are times where people don't really put it in there, but it does increase your chances if you just want a connection, like someone to accept your connection. Put in context, oh, we met here, or oh, I saw that we both went to this school, or I saw that you were nominated for this, or I see you post this, I'm also interested in this, I think we should connect. I think it increases your chances if you're connecting. For ATS purposes, should we make sure our resumes use the same position names as the job titles? Yes, I would recommend that. So there are times where, let's say you're, I don't know what I'll use as an example. Okay, let's say, again, if you go back to the experience, what is the experience you want to have? And your previous company, let me even use the automation program advisor, right? And I want a customer success role. Now, at some point in this role I'm in, it was called automation program advisor. If I leave that on my resume, people might take that to mean, oh, maybe she should be a program manager versus, and I'm trying to get a customer success manager job. The title might be misleading, but if I think of the job function I performed and I know it's customer success, honey, I am a customer success manager. So for ATS purposes, should we make sure they use the same position? Yes, and that is where I would say I talked about doing the market research versus just relying on ChatGPT, because ChatGPT, yes, can give you some clues and ideas, but go into the job market and see what they are called. Like if you're seeing that they're using certain keywords, make sure those keywords are reflected in your resume. If you see that, let's say, so for that job title, commodity manager, in some places it's also called procurement manager, depending. But if you see that if you're going to the market and you see that a lot of people are using procurement manager as the title, adjust it. Because at the end of the day, you can speak to the work, you did the work, right? It's just called something different. Like maybe where you're coming from was called a different title, but don't let that be a limiting factor for you. So for sure, I would advise that you do that. Yeah, okay. Is there any other question that anyone has? I want to do, let me actually make sure. Or is there any other thing I skipped? I want to make sure I did not. Let me go back to my PowerPoint. Oh, well, I would just do this out there for Afrotech. If you're going to Afrotech, you should, or if you're going to whatever conference, let's see. Sometimes they have and you use hashtag on what they call it, LinkedIn. It does help. Oh yeah, 2025. I was like, what year are we in? And I'm going to search by post so I can begin to see people who would be at Afrotech. Now, if I want to network with them, I would reach out to this lady, Valerie. Valerie said she's going to be there. So I will send her a message and let's see, what role does she do? I can't even tell from this. This is how you know she's not looking for a job. She's good, okay? Because she's helping, like, she's good. Okay, what is her actual job title? She's in business operations. Okay, cool. So I could send her a message and be like, hey, Valerie, I see you're going to be at Afrotech. I'm excited to I look forward to meet you. I've been, and you could ask her, so I could leave it as, hey, I want to connect. I'll be at Afrotech too. I want to build a connection. I could do that, get a connection request from her and get that done. Or I could also, if I see a role within Microsoft, I would say, hey, I could even ask her, like, I know sometimes Microsoft, recruits during this event. Do you have any information on how I can position myself to whatever, like, so this is how, like, to engage with Microsoft or to engage whatever. So just whatever you want. Again, they have to be clear in the ask for your messages, right? So I would reach out to her, because for me, this is someone who's going to be there at the booth. And for people who come for these conferences, they're not just coming just to have a good time. They're coming there to represent their companies, and they would want to connect with people. So if you're going to Afrotech, already be on the lookout, okay, for people who have used the hashtag and have said that they are going to be at Afrotech. So yeah, she's a speaker, but then you could use that to find, again, if you're going to Afrotech, they have the portal, go there, see the companies that would be at Afrotech, figure out the companies that you want to visit during the booths, during the expo or in the expo hall at Afrotech. And you could maybe search within that company, because again, LinkedIn is so powerful. You have access to you can search within companies, you could search within people, you could search using the hashtag, and you could get clarity on, like, okay, like, where do I go from there, and how do I leverage the people that are accessible to me via LinkedIn? Okay, so the day is fast spent, but I want to make sure, when is the next Afrotech? It is this month. I will say it's quite a considerable price tag. I think it's about $600 and something for the ticket, I think. But I will say, be on the lookout. TikTok. Sometimes I think TikTok is more powerful than Instagram in terms of information. But use hashtags, because sometimes they are offshoot events. Right, so there could be the main event hall, the main event in the George R. Brown convention, but Microsoft could have an offshoot event, Apple could have an offshoot event, right? And then you could get invited to those those smaller ones, and you're able to network and meet people and go from there. So that's what I would advise people to target. If you're not able to meet the big ones, it's like, find people who are going, send them a message, I know last year, I know in the past, Microsoft has had smaller events. Just curious if there's anyone happening this year that I could go for. There are times. So again, TikTok, because some people post all these things. Let me see if this would work. Post. This is how I randomly search. Okay, that didn't work. This is how I randomly search on on LinkedIn, because yes, it's a powerful tool. You just reiterate until you see what you're looking for. Any other question? I think we've kind of touched on at least the big things. I don't know how many people are international students. So when I say international students, or like if you're on H1B and you need a company that would sponsor you, there is something called H1B checker. H1B checker. It is It is a Google Chrome extension. So just for people who might be needing sponsorship. And I'm going to zoom into this so we see it. So you install it on Chrome. It works with LinkedIn. So what your experience would be is, so what it's going to do is going to check the H1B database, those people that have sponsored H1B in the past. It could be, and just take it that it's directionally correct, because for me, at the time when I was recruiting, I was on work visa. So I needed to make sure that my jobs were jobs that could sponsor me, right? So imagine applying to 100 jobs and you realize that, I don't qualify or whatever. So this helped me. You're able to see, oh, this is a H1B sponsor. So I see that they've sponsored in the past, so they're possibly going to sponsor now. I see this one doesn't sponsor, so I'm not going to waste my time putting an application. So it's just another way to be effective if you fall under this boat, or you know someone who would need this. Again, take it as something that is directionally correct, because there are times where a company may have sponsored in the past and they don't sponsor now, or they didn't sponsor in the past and they sponsor now. So just throwing that caveat out there. And another thing I also use this website, and I think this is kind of like one of the last things I would say. I've used this website because people would then ask, should I then only use LinkedIn? No, use other job search, expand your search. So what I would do is, one of the things I would use is Built-in. I liked Built-in for some reason, and I just kept using it. So with Built-in, and this is because sometimes, like, a lot of companies use LinkedIn, they might favor some because of maybe how they, like, whatever payment plan they're on. So they're showing those jobs versus other medium-sized companies that could also pay as well. So, or maybe those ones are in page 3 or 4, but you only applied to all the jobs in page 1, so you never got to page 3 or 4. But if you go to other ones, you might see those other jobs there. So I like to balance it out with maybe 1 or 2 trusted sites. And for me, I liked, when I was recruiting, I used Built-in as my supplement LinkedIn. And so what I'll do is here, I'll apply here as usual. But if I see a role that I really like, I'm going to take it back to LinkedIn, and I'm going to hunt down who I think is the hiring manager or whatever. Like, I'll do my thing on LinkedIn and find them, do the outreach, all of that. But I would be able to come here and find more, in my opinion, just widen cast a wider net, right? Widen my pool of the jobs that I'm looking for. So I would use LinkedIn. Another thing that I would do, I hope I would remember the full thing, but there's this thing called, let's see. Let me see if I have it already written down. I don't think so. Let me see if I can get it so what it is, just advanced search on Google. In fact, let's just experiment, because I don't think that I greenhouse. Okay, wrong place to search. I'm just gonna put it in here. So I'm gonna search. For those of us that have been applying, I don't like when companies are using Workday. No shame on the company. I could work for them, they're gonna employ me, but the using the application, like throwing in your application for companies that are using Workday, it feels like I've uploaded my resume, but I have to almost like copy out my resume and put it in when I'm filling in the job. But with Greenhouse, it's really straightforward. So I would do this just as a way to, like, advanced search. Okay, let's use this example. So sites.greenhouse.io, and I put in the title of the job that I'm looking for. Again, these are examples of how to cast a wider net. So if you're looking for a software developer job in the USA, I will put this in here. And what that would do for me is it would give me different jobs that, okay, hold on. Let me take out USA. It's not giving me what I thought it would. Okay, yeah, this is a little bit more, I mean, it's the same thing anyways, I believe, but it's just going to give me jobs that are using the ATS of Greenhouse, and I can apply to them. It's a way to cast a wider net. Again, we like to get in there as quickly as possible. So I'll go to I go to more. Oh, it's already down here. So tools, so yeah, was tools that brought it down. Click on tools. If it comes down here anytime, I want to switch to past week because I want to be as quickly as possible, right? I believe there's a way to also do advanced search, and you could also filter by location and all of that great stuff. So I can already see here that, oh, there's a data engineer job at Remotive. There is one in this ed tech. Grammarly is looking for a software engineer 5 days ago, blah, blah, blah. So it's just, again, another way to expand my job search. And that's the last nugget I'm going to drop for today. I think we've had an amazing time. But yeah, let me know if there's any question. But yeah, this is just, again, another way to widen our net and find more jobs. But like, I love my LinkedIn because you're not just seeing the job, you're seeing people behind the job, and you can network with them. So yeah.
And thank you, Toshi. I
Of
feel like I
course.
learned like you touched on it briefly when we talked before, but like yeah, I feel like I learned way more. Um, I hope that I mean it seemed like everybody got a lot from that, so I really appreciated like how thorough that was and like how much like how informational it was. I really appreciate that. Um,
Yeah.
so somebody asked for your social medias in the chat. Um,
My social media is, I'm just gonna put it in the chat. Um, Tochi VY or Tochi Ivy. So that's my Instagram.
uh,
You could follow me on
um,
there. I probably should do a better job of post. I do post sometimes, like nuggets on there as well. I do post random opportunities that I find too. But it's also just my everyday life page. So just heads up on that one. But yeah, feel free to give me a follow. Excited to hear from you all, even on LinkedIn as well. So yeah, I really hope that you took something from this. I think I have like a wrap up slide, but I think it's also everything that we've talked about, right? Let me blow this up a little bit. Where are you? Yeah. Okay, we did all of this. Yeah. Don't forget my name though, but if you're like, these are the things that I would want us to really remember, right? Where it's LinkedIn is a marketplace, right? So you have to figure out what you're selling, which is your skills. Think about the approach. Think about how you're positioning yourself. Think about the experience that you want to have, and let that how it rolls into your resume, your LinkedIn profile, and all of that. So clean up your profile and know how you are showing up, right? Because you have to show yourself show up in a way that is distinguishable, right? Like where you could say like you want to get again in front of the pool as quickly as possible, right? That is very key. You also want to be findable. So as much as you can engage on LinkedIn, I would advise you to do that. Join those groups, post on LinkedIn, build your connections, and build your connections with recruiters. And if you can't find someone to refer you, feel free to figure out who the hiring manager might be. Again, it could be in the job description. They might put there that this person is going to report to the VP of so and so. But if not, you could go to the company page on LinkedIn, search within people. If it's a procurement job, you're probably going to report to the VP of procurement. If it's a customer success job, you're going to probably report to the VP of customer success, right? So you use that to narrow down who the hiring manager might be, what the decision maker might be, and you send them a note, right? And use those searchability functions to help you that I'm hiring, we're hiring, um, and again, as quickly as possible. So always make sure to filter it to at least a week, or at most a week. And yeah, fortune favors the bold and the prepared. So be bold, reach out, but also be prepared in such a way that if they follow one who has the credentials they need, and even in your outreach messages, you're also putting that read-only link to your resume. Because again, you want to make it as easy for them as possible. Yeah, that's all, folks.
Thank you so much. Before we get out of here, I wanted to see if anybody had any questions specific to like software development. If you missed the beginning, I'm a full stack developer, so I don't like I Toshi touched on everything like beautifully. I couldn't have done it any better. But if you got anything about software development, full stack development, uh, building a portfolio, anything related to that stuff, let me know. You could throw it in the chat or send me a DM or I'm gonna just put my John in there right now. Computer keys.
Yeah.
But yeah, if y'all got any questions, let me know. Outside of that, yeah. Thank you, Toshi. Like
Of course.
I don't have anything to say. Like, that was perfect. I learned a lot.
I'm glad. Yeah.
Hope y'all took notes and everything. But yeah, if there's no questions, we just gonna probably get out of here.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. It was a really great session. I enjoyed the engagement and the questions. Thank you for that.
Oh
And
wait,
yeah, if there's
sorry,
anything.
sorry, Toshi. I got a question on Instagram. Any advice specific to customer success manager role based on current trends?
Ah, that's a good question. Um, I don't want to know what trend. I don't want to assume. Um,
Mhm.
but if they're gonna, if the trend is AI, like with the rise of AI, um, like is AI going to come for my job? Because I think I've had someone ask me that question. This is just my general stance, and again, this is Tochi's answer. Okay, this is my personal answer. Um, is that like people are asking, should we be scared? Should we be, motivated? I think we should be both, if you ask me. Um, but not fear that cripples, but fear that motivates, right? Like we should be cautiously optimistic, is how I put it, in the sense that and I would answer this in the context of customer success. Customer success is a function that is very important to any organization, to like especially software, like subscription based businesses, because with customer success, you are making sure that that recurring revenue never stops, because that is literally the lifeblood. Like that's the money in passageway, right? So with customer success, you're making sure that that recurring revenue keeps coming in, right? That's the goal of customer success, to reduce churn and keep that active usage up, right? And that the money keeps coming in. So the function of customer success, well, I think it would be there in any subscription-based business. Now, how that role is going to be performed may change with the infusion of artificial intelligence. Um, so um, for customer success, um, I will say the function it will be there. It might be called something differently. You might have to engage different tools, but it will be there. There's this other thing to also consider, where I'm also seeing a tilt of functional versus technical customer success, right? So this is where the cautiously optimistic, where it's see the trend, see where it's going, but not in a way that cripples you, but in a way that motivates you. Like, what do I need to do to fill this gap? So in the space where I'm seeing that bifurcation of technical and functional CSMs, I would advise you to figure out where you lie currently and where you would want to tilt towards. Do you want to start learning and equipping yourself to be a little more technical? Like if you're overly functional, I would advise that try to be a little bit technical too, right? Try to understand the technology, try to like get in there, if you have a technical colleague, get in there with them and have them show you a couple of things. If you're overly technical, try to understand the functional side, right? So that would be my advice in terms of how to approach. Because maybe if you take the question again, I want to make sure I answered it properly. But in terms of the trends and what I'm seeing and how you should approach the role, that's what I'm thinking. Like on the one hand, learn the AI tools, like learn to use AI tools within your role to make it more effective. I think the function would be there. How it's done might change. And then on the other hand is I'm seeing that bifurcation, technical, functional, figure out where you currently lie and the gap you need to, like, if you're functional, get a little bit technical. The technical, get a little bit functional, right? Again, stand in your strength zone. If your strength is functional, it's a good thing to be functional, right? But also learn, about like, how can I layer in? How can, like, in what ways can I lean into the technical to help balance out, right? Because again, that's what I'm seeing, and nobody knows which way the market will go. Maybe everybody feels that, oh, I want the customer success that has technical knowledge or has technical strengths. Then you could capitalize on the knowledge you have to tilt that way if you so please. So that's my take. But yeah, I hope that answered that question. If not, again, just shoot me a message on LinkedIn. I would love to engage more.
Nah, I think you answered it pretty well.
Okay.
All right, yeah, it seemed like everybody logging out. I think that was the only question I had from like Instagram. Let me just double check.
Okay.
And oh, somebody said thank you on YouTube. All right, cool. Nah,
Okay.
this is great, yo.
Yeah.
We
I
really came
mean,
prepared with like
I try
everything.
to, when I tell you that, I try to condense everything and make it
Yeah.
this could go deeper. This could go like there are some other random tips. I wish I could show, like I really I think I skimmed over the hiring where like how to find people, but again, I wanted to plant the seeds of how to go out there and search, because trust me, there are ways. When I say, I mean, we already do this, y'all. We already do this. We go on it's like we're trying to figure out the story between people, and we're like going on Instagram and finding out things. We already do this. Just put the hustle in your job, okay? Like try to figure it out for your job, right? Like if you're trying to find someone, and I'll maybe even touch on this because someone asked me this today, where he's like, I'm doing this, like how many jobs can I apply to that would make me feel like for me to be at a good place? And I told him, if you do 10 a day, that's amazing. And he's like, that's not a lot of jobs. I'm like, yeah, because quality over quantity.
Right.
Now, but it's also that balance, right? And I understand things might be like, oh my God, Tucci, this was 2023 when you did all of this. It's a little bit different now. Fair, right? But I would say this. I still think quality works, because you just need that one person. You just need to get in front of that one person. If you would want to, but if you feel like, okay, what is the balance that works for me? I want to apply to as many jobs as possible. But if I see one that I really like, then I'm going to take this approach to make sure it is done excellently. If that's the balance you want to do, then that works for you. If you want to go full on, I'm only going to go this way, and keep drilling down, like gets the right person. And you're like, oh, what? Also, don't go into the rabbit hole of I want to make sure this is the hiring manager. There are times where I've sent to like 3 people because I wasn't sure who it was, and I showed in the example, literally in the example that I showed, I had sent to 2 people because I wasn't sure who it was. But I'm like, you know what? Both of you have similar titles, so I'm just gonna send to 2 of you, and one of them responded. That was all I needed. So don't. I guess that's to balance it out in your attempt to find the right person. Don't fall into a rabbit hole, right? Like try to figure out who it might be. If again, you're not trying to reach out to employees, you're not trying to reach out to your peers. You're trying to reach out to the decision maker. So it's someone in a director or VP role for the org that you'll be joining. Okay, so that's like the general way to think of it. So, and please send me success stories or send me any questions as you all are employing this. I would love to engage with you on LinkedIn further on this. So yeah, I really hope it was a blessing to you all.
I got a lot out of it, so I hope so. All right, yeah. If we don't have any more questions, I think that's gonna be it.
Yeah. Oh, I saw the iPhone stuff out here, but it gave me hope. And that's another thing. One thing that made me not to lose my mind, I found other people who were going on the same journey with me. In fact, I had a friend that we would get on a call every week and just exchange notes. What works for you? What worked for me? That helped, because it really, like, everyone could meet and talk about how crazy it is, but it's also great to meet and talk about like, hey, what's working for you? What's working for me? And compare notes. It helps. So
damn, yo. You got me wishing I was looking for a job right now. Like,
bro, you don't want to wish that.
I know. I'm playing.
I get you.
Like back when, like, I don't know, 2020, 2022, when I was looking, yeah, like this definitely would have got me everything I needed. Yeah. Especially, I told you before, like I'm real lazy. Like I let the recruiters come to me. I just send them my resume, and I let my experience speak for itself. But like at a certain point, you got to be proactive, and I think like everything you laid out is perfect, especially with like the way the job market is now. Yeah, exactly, for sure. But yeah, thank you so much. Look like everybody's saying good night. I appreciate y'all for joining.
Right. Good night, y'all.
Questions and everything. Oh, see, that's exactly. I was thinking like if you help one person, then it like in this type of comment right here, like that's exactly what I was hoping for.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much. All right, I never did this before, so I gotta figure out how to stop this thing. Appreciate y'all. Everybody have a good night. Y'all be safe.